Happy Friday evening, friends. Thanks for joining us on another edition, I should say, of Live at Night Soccer Talk. I'm Alex Parra. It's always great to be with you. If you can believe it or not, on this July 3rd, on this Independence Day Eve, we are into our 23rd day of World Cup coverage, and what a day it was. Potentially a huge upset was brewing, potentially something that would have been earth-shattering for the world of football, of soccer, literally. That would have been shaken it to its core. So we'll definitely talk about the Argentina match and Cabo Verde, a huge part of our coverage today. We'll also talk about a match that took place up in the Dallas area. We'll talk about a match that's coming up in Houston in less than 24 hours. We'll talk about what may or may not be happening in Mexico City on Sunday relative to the start time of the England versus Mexico match. So a lot to talk about. We welcome our friend here to my left over here. This is Telstar 18, the official ball of let's see if I can find the little detail. There we go. Of Russia 2018. We just randomly chose that one. Why are you laughing at my intro of my friend? Because I forgot his name? It happens.
No.
You hear him laughing. You can't talk till I introduce you. I'll stay on my one shot. All right. But let's go ahead and introduce the one and only Enrique Vasquez. Enrique, good. What is this? Friday evening. How are you, sir?
Good Friday evening. No, I started laughing because I first glanced at it. I forgot all about that ball. It looked like somebody just took a Sharpie because they wanted to black out something that was a mistake on that ball. That's what it looks like. What is that a shape of?
What is this a shape of? Let's see. I don't know if I can actually. Yeah. You want to see the whole thing?
You look at the ball. It looks like somebody really took a Sharpie and just blacked out whatever
I
was
just think
there.
I prepared for the show. That's why I write my notes. Right there.
There you go.
That's exactly what I do.
See what I mean? That's what I see. What do you see, Victor? I mean, what does that look like?
What do you see, Victor? Put him on the spot, huh?
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering if maybe Alex just doesn't have the original ball, and that's like the replica version.
Okay, you do know that I bought these on Harwin, right?
And that's why it
the
looks
one
like
you got at Tepito. Yeah.
I bought them in Tepito. That's exactly why.
Yeah.
So this guy, and I bought a couple of Rolexes too, just so you know.
Hey,
That's
speaking of
right.
Rolexes, you heard the controversy, right? You heard the controversy with Mexico, right?
You mean about time?
An influencer here, the influencer who placed a bet on Mexico winning and advancing over Ecuador, won. And to thank the national team, he bought the squad Rolexes.
Wow.
Not only did he buy them, he got into the concentration camp of the concentration camp.
Careful with that.
In Spanish. Yeah. The centro de concentración. Centro de concentración, where the camp, the Mexico camp, and he gave them to him. And apparently, obviously, the official sponsors of the national team is a different company. That's not a Rolex, and they were quite upset. But obviously, the news came out of it. But hey, influencers are finding their way. If you got a Rolex, they'll let you in the gate.
Influencers are everywhere. And apparently, they sold me the wrong soccer balls too, Enrique Vasquez. Well, it's great to have you with us, Enrique. We really do appreciate it. A little after 11, it's 11:24 Central Time on this Friday. Before we get into it, a lot of it, by the way, of action, of games, of what's coming up, we also welcome in Professor Victor Araiza. I like the glasses, Professor. How are you this evening?
I'm doing all right. I don't know if we'll do a lot of professoring here with a lot of things that are going down, certainly around the World Cup off the field. Now that I think about it, I'm wondering if the supposed time change was even a thing, just to distract from the influencer debacle here.
To maybe focus on something else. Maybe also mess mentally with England, so that they're having to worry about where this is going and all along. And again, I don't know.
They got quite a reception. I think they just arrived about an hour ago or something in Mexico.
They flew into Toluca, right? And then drove in?
Yeah.
That's my understanding.
Into Toluca. And I saw the reporting out of ESPN Mexico, and they were talking about there's about 3,000 security officers around the hotel that are going to take care of the fact that they don't want the same thing that happened the night prior to the match against Ecuador. So at least they're doing
Good
something
luck.
about it. So I'm sure, yeah. So we'll see how it goes tomorrow night.
Well, a lot to talk about. And why don't we start a little bit, gentlemen, with today's matches. And literally, this could have been, Victor, an earth-shattering change to our entire World Cup and maybe international soccer. But Cabo Verde finding a way to stay with it. I think that's score is incorrect, right? It should be 3-2.
Yes, should be 3-2.
If I'm not mistaken. So we'll see about correcting that. But Victor, let's start with you talking about Argentina and Cabo Verde. What a match.
Yeah, nearly went to penalties, and obviously the back and forth nature of this is what made it interesting because, Argentina got their first goal. It looked like they were gonna, run away with this, like everybody thought. Cabo Verde got one goal to tie it, which now it kind of gets interesting. But once it gets into the late part of the game, Argentina doesn't really have an answer. Then it's forced into extra time, right? And that's where it kind of, I think people, if you don't have a dog in the fight, you're probably leaning Argentina here if you're a casual viewer. And I'm sure everybody around the world was kind of just tuning into this match. Hey, look, they're going the distance here a little bit. Then Argentina got another goal, and then you thought, all right, well, they just went extra time. Argentina just scored it, but they're probably going to see this out. And another amazing goal by Cabo Verde. Obviously, Bosnia along this whole thing had a few good saves, and I think a lot of people were wondering if this thing was going to go to penalty and if we're going to see Bosnia in a penalty shootout and what that was going to look like. Ultimately Argentina, because of the defending world champions, because they hadn't really been tested up until this point, and it's again, when everybody before the World Cup started thought it was going to be Uruguay or Spain, and then even after Cabo Verde did some of the things they did this World Cup, I started to see, well, people were saying, man, it's made for Argentina. They got this easy path. I mean, how do you get set up with Cabo Verde and then, potentially Egypt? And people are kind of not really thinking of these African nations. I'm talking about general public, maybe not so much soccer following public. But there you go. It shows you that don't overlook any country. And certainly the expanded format that allowed Cabo Verde to get into this tournament has made it more interesting. So if there was any doubts, and I was one of the guys that probably was against this
Expansion?
Expansion at first, just because I thought it was kind of a sweet spot there with 32 teams, and it kind of had a perfect format. Why change it? But seeing some of these stories like Cabo Verde, like Curacao, I think sort of gives you a different perspective of what the World Cup could be, and obviously the attendances seem to be bulletproof. I don't know if this is going to stay with 60 teams, but at least for now, it seems to draw plenty of good storylines, and today was one of them.
Enrique, anything can happen. What is it? On any given Sunday, in this case, on any given Friday. What I believe many of us were, look, let's go Cabo Verde. Let's find a way. But Argentina found a way. This is how you win World Cups. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be elegant. Yes, they dominated the control of the ball, if you will, but you never know. You still have to play the game.
No, you do have to play the game, and what they say about lightning not striking twice in the same spot. Cabral almost pulled up a second one shot into goal. That really was Martinez that make it a very nice save.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the game is tied at 3 there, and maybe we do have PKs now. But it was an excellent game. Like Victor said, I also was of the idea that this was going to ruin the tournament, expanding the field to 48. And man, were we wrong? These teams have shown up and not only competed, but they were a moment away from. Even as it is, they lost the game, but really Cabo Verde, they won. As the broadcast said, and I think Zlatan after the broadcast on Fox, he said, yeah, these are heroes. These are going to be heroes the rest of their lives in Cabo Verde and really around the world, because that gives you hope. Now every nation that qualifies for the tournament from this point forward, no matter how small or no chance given, they're going to say, hey, if for 90 minutes, or in this case 120 minutes, we can put in the effort, we have a chance. Anybody's got a chance. And man, that as it was the best game of the tournament so thus far, right? And what could have been a historic win for Cabo Verde had they pulled it off.
This victory is what tournaments and events like this are about, right? The underdog, the people's choice, if you will, dethroning the current king, if you will. As Enrique just put it, this would have changed history in so many ways, and it was so close yet so far away. How does Argentina, Victor, continue to find a way to win? We go back to the teams that have won the entire thing, and it's a select group because they find a way, because they know how. And often it's not pretty, and often it's not even emotional. It's just about maybe the experience of having that, knowing how to finish a game. And we were all, I think many of us, and Argentina fans are going to get mad at me, really hoping for the upset here.
If you're not if you're not really rooting for Argentina in this tournament, I think you were probably just kind of wanting to see if this thing was going to happen, right? If Cabo Verde could pull it off, just because of the feat that this would be, of the wrench that this would throw in the tournament. We would have been guaranteed a new champion. And certainly, obviously, I think a lot of people have fallen in love with this story of Cabo Verde, of the Cinderella story, the underdog, however you wanna label it. Listen, for Argentina, I think obviously they got a lot of good players. They're obviously battle tested, if we put it that way. I mean, they've won a World Cup. They won a Copa America as well, a couple actually. So and obviously this is a different, kind of, I would call it, adversity, but I mean, just a challenge, right? Maybe an opponent they might have overlooked or might have not thought enough of, and they may disagree or they may say otherwise. But I think when you're Argentina, you can maybe be overconfident, and I think the same happened with Spain. The same happened with Uruguay. Maybe a lot of people didn't think Cabo Verde was as good as they were, and it gave them a surprise. And certainly also let's remember, these players are also dealing with full season in their club careers. The expanded format also adds one extra game. So now you have the round of 32 that wasn't there before. And it is a little bit more of pacing yourself. And now you got this game that took you another 30 minutes. A lot of the players were tired, dead tired after that game.
Oh, yeah.
And at some point, it's just finding a way to survive. It's finding a way to not be overly dependent on Messi, which Argentina has been. And they found goals from other sources as well. Lisandro Martinez was one of them. And there you go. I mean, these are the kind of hurdles you're gonna have to go through if you want to be the world champions, repeat world champions for sure.
And it's games.
And in the round of 32,
yeah.
I'm sorry, Alex, real quick.
Please.
And in the round of 32, this was the one that was really affected by the heat. So on top of that, so the heat was really a factor today. You can see. Yeah, so you see that now. It was every bit earned. I mean, nothing about this game. None of the goals were flukes. I mean, let's talk about Messi. His goal, my goodness, the way he traps and controls that ball on a 30-yard pass and leaves it right there to put in the back of the net. I mean, that's world class all the way around. And he missed a couple of other. Well, I don't know that he missed them. The saves that were made, on the Cabo Verde side to keep this from being, maybe this could have been a 4-2 win or somewhere around that range, if not for the goalkeeping by Cabo Verde, because Messi had a couple of chances that he wasn't able to put away. So, I mean, but again, just an incredible match, and the call by John Strong. I watched the game on Fox. I loved his call at the very end. Obviously, totally different style. Nobody's hollering goal for 17 seconds, but the words that he used to describe this improbable, almost unbelievable, and just the amazing goal that Cabral had on that shot to tie it up and then just make this an amazing match. Yeah, tremendous, just tremendous everything. This is what World Cup soccer is about, and again, just another opportunity for fans that were maybe on the margins of following soccer in full here in the U.S. Man, this certainly helps, and this what a beautiful game.
Enrique, that second goal that tied it at 2-2 at the time, that so far is my World Cup moment. Literally, I jumped out of my chair, almost choking on whatever it is I was eating. It was that emotional, and at my age, it takes a lot to get me out of my chair. So just so you know, so that I think clearly our top game of the day. I was going to say jornada of the day. By the way, the last 3 games of the round of 32. So soon we'll show you the bracket, and already the plate is set for the round of 16 that starts tomorrow. Let's talk quickly about this match that was held in Arlington, up in Dallas, and Egypt finding a way in penalty kicks to win the game. Victor, our Katie Omanya was there, and we're documenting it here. You'll see some of her work. Also, thanks to Grant for putting this together. But Egypt finding a way. Australia still hasn't gotten through a knockout game in their World Cup history. But here's an African country that's going through.
Yeah, and it wasn't easy. And again, if you were looking opponent, you can be in a bit of a predicament. You know, I'm not saying that's what happened with Egypt, but I'm saying for anybody that thought Australia might have been done easily, they take it all the way to penalties. And so Egypt, I think, you know, because of Mo Salah, goes through. Well, not because I'm saying because of him as a star. I think it's a more interesting. For the further round, certainly when, you know, and then this next game when they face Argentina, but obviously it's not as easy. And ultimately, you know, I think whether you call it fair or not, that's how it had to be decided because through 120 minutes, these teams couldn't be separated. And then again, it almost feels like an entire day ago. This was the start of the day.
Yeah.
But these are the kinds of games also that, you know, we'll see how much farther Egypt goes. Obviously, Australia, another one of these nice stories of a tournament, won't get maybe as much a pat on the back as Cabo Verde, obviously because different, you know, Australia's been in World Cups before, and you know, obviously they've had some success in Asia, but yeah, I think also, you know, they were in that U.S. group. Maybe a lot of people didn't think much of them. They started with a great win over Turkey. And then to kind of have it end here, you know, it's a pretty solid World Cup for the Socceroos.
Enrique, your thoughts on Australia and Egypt, and another game down in Dallas. I think there's one or two more in Dallas. I'll have to check my schedule. I know there's one more in Houston, but it does seem like 2 days ago that happened. This morning, or starting at noon? Was that the start time?
Yeah, it was the early kickoff this afternoon. But yeah, during the match, I saw that number on Australia had gone almost a little over 2 matches without scoring a goal. And in the end today, they didn't score a goal. There was an own goal for Egypt. So I mean, the deficiencies that they had, you know, putting the ball in the back of the net does them in this tournament. And then clearly in penalties, man, did they struggle. And when your first guy misses right off the bat, that just puts you on your heels, and they never really recovered. The last one that was missed, you could tell the young man was just the moment was way too big for him, and you can't fault him, you know, with the pressure of the nation on his shoulders, having to score, having to make that kick to keep you know, to basically stay in the game. It was just too much. But and then during those PKs, I don't know if you want to have that conversation or not, Alex, but we were talking about this yesterday. Goalkeepers in PK situations, Victor. My contention is, and I work more with athletes on the softball and baseball side of things, and the example that I gave Alex yesterday, which is at the end of this, is when you logged in and we were in that little heated conversation, was I never tell a third baseman when this pitch hits home plate, take a guess of where the ball's going to go. Go ahead and dive before the ball is hit, so in hopes that you get there and you can catch it, and the ball in hopes that the ball doesn't go down the line and they have a double or a triple. So with that in mind, with that mindset, why don't keepers just wait and react and save the PKs that are within that reach, as opposed to just dive into the side at something soft that's savable, that you can just simply react and stop? what are the percentages? Wouldn't that be better percentages for them to just wait and react as opposed to guess and just give away
Yeah, well,
PKs that are
and
softly
some
hit like
do.
Salas in the middle of the net?
Yeah, some do, and I think you've seen that in especially these penalties where the player does a stutter step, which you know
Yeah.
some of if you can pull it off, it works, but if you don't, you're a dummy, right? But I think you see in some of these penalties where they try to sort of fake the goalkeeper, and then it doesn't work, and then it kind of throws the player. They don't. They kind of have to think last minute. Um, I think there are goalies that do it, and I think it works. That approach, but everybody has their own opinion, approach, strategy as far as how to approach penalty kicks. It's kind of like a free throw. It should be like a gimme, and there's always a saying that no player should ever miss a penalty. It should almost be a 100% goal. So it's more on the scorer than it is the goalie, and obviously everybody has their how they want to do either mind games or try to work the percentages in their favor. But I mean, I think you've seen your approach sort of work more, especially when you see players end up hitting it through the middle of the field.
You don't have to agree with him.
Yeah.
Look where he's coming from. I do have to finish my homework and come back with statistics to show Enrique Vasquez the logic behind the goalkeeper committing early, basically, and then the kicker reacting to that and then placing it either down the middle or the opposite side. So, but I will do a little research, Enrique, because logically, yes, you wait, you're on your toes, and you react, and you try to save it. Obviously, if it's in the upper 90 left to right, you can dive all you want. You're just not going to reach it, right? But one of the
And I think that's the strategy too, right? Like the goalkeepers that dive, their whole thing is, well, if I guess it the right way, the only way I'm getting there is if I go ahead of time.
You know who we're going to bring in, Enrique? Our friend Eddie Blois. Remember Eddie Blois, a goalkeeper? He's actually coach at Katy High School. He's played at the professional level, friend of ours, and he is focused on goalkeeping. So I'm going to get you the right answer because it is worth conversing about and talking about, and statistically, how does this come together? Now, the things you can't control, Enrique, at this point, and we've discussed it here today, and I think it's going to continue being a factor, is being tired after so many games, and then the pressure of that moment. Can you, as a young man, can you, as a veteran, focus on what needs to be done? And all those maybe, I'm going to call them spirits in your closet, all those thoughts of your past, or maybe I've never been here at this moment, or maybe, and I learned this playing, Enrique, there are players that cannot take them. Mentally, they don't have the calm to do it. They can be excellent field players, but when it comes to that moment and executing, I'm not going to say they choke, they can't perform. And so a coach, actually, one of the things we were taught is we were asked to take penalty kicks after very stressful situations, or after literally a day when we do all fitness, we're physically and mentally tired, and then there was a punishment if you missed. For instance, if you don't convert this penalty kick, you and your friends have to run another
slices.
2 miles. Exactly. No orange tang. So there is a mental side of it, Enrique, versus reacting to a ball that's hit to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, of course, and I'm sure these guys train and they do this as well, and these are the best of the best anyway. But obviously, just like missing a free throw or dropping a touchdown pass in the end zone, Jackie Smith and the Cowboys in the Super Bowl, hey, it happens to the best of them, and certainly when it's the weight of a nation on your shoulders, like in this moment today for Australia, who in the end, did what they had to force PKs, but then just again, like you said, the moment was just too big.
Not quite enough. So that was the the first match today, and the match we just finished watching just a few minutes ago, certainly before we went on the air. Colombia finding a way to ganar versus Ghana. Ganando contra Ghana. They beat Ghana. Victor, I'll start with you. Colombia playing well. Colombia moving the ball around. But you know what? At this stage, there's so many factors, including, Enrique just mentioned this, the heat in Kansas City.
Yeah, but I think again, you see, and Colombia is another one of these well-supported teams. They got the early goal there in the first half, so they weren't really able to add more. But I think they while the scoreline may show a closer game, I think they pretty much had it under control to the end. So it's just one of these where it's not flashy, but they did what they had to do, and you're on to the next round, and that's really all you could ask. Don't overcomplicate yourself, and again, it's easy to say, but you don't want these predicaments like Argentina had, where obviously maybe you also give credit to the opponent, but it's also one of those where get your business done, figure it out, and get it done in 90 minutes so you can move on.
Enrique, we start now looking at the bracket after these three matches, the last three of the round of 32. What are some of the patterns you're seeing in the three host nations coming through? We'll talk soon about tomorrow, Canada playing versus Morocco in Houston. We'll also talk about really, will there be a change in starting times in Mexico for that game at Azteca, England versus Mexico? But right now, what are you sensing? What are you seeing? And unfortunately, the African teams really only at this point, Morocco coming through, right? Morocco and Egypt.
Well, you would think, right? And then I think the lesson of today for all these teams is nobody can come into this round of 16, obviously thinking they have an easy way through. Whether it's Belgium facing a young United States squad that's hungry and it's their moment, whatever the case may be. Obviously, with Canada, Morocco can't certainly see on paper. You would think that they're favorites and they may walk away from Canada in that matchup here in Houston. But after what we saw today, I'm sure nobody will be surprised. Nobody. Everybody should be aware that if you don't take care of business, you can get upset here in the World Cup. Now, I wanted to real quick go back to today. Not so much talk about the game with Colombia, but seeing Arrowhead. I'm gonna call it Arrowhead because that's what we all know it and love it as. It's a fabulous. To me, it's one of the great stadiums in the NFL. I first got to go there back in 1993 to experience what that was, but to see it, and our focus has been here in Houston, obviously Dallas, which is close by. Victor, you had a chance to watch a couple of games out there, and obviously the great crowds that we've had on the West Coast with the U.S. games, whether it be SoFi or Santa Clara, in Seattle, of course. But to see Arrowhead like it is, and the city of Kansas City, in the area of Kansas City, host 4 teams for this World Cup to hold their training there. Man, I would like to, take a moment just to recognize the Lamar Hunt family and what they've done for soccer here in this country, and that the city and the stadium was rewarded with this being a host for 4 teams and obviously hosting World Cup games. That not much has been said about that. Lamar Hunt has done a lot for soccer in this country, and I'm sure somewhere he's smiling to see his stadium, the home for his Chiefs, be the showcase today in this round of 32 and hosting this matchup. Because I mean, it was a pretty sight to see, and to see that dressed in yellow for this match today was pretty special. That was pretty cool.
The legacy of Lamar Hunt and his family, Enrique, is huge in the NFL. But yes, many people don't know about the legacy of soccer. This is a family that worked with professional teams in the old APSL, if I'm not mistaken, the NASL as well. Obviously, the Lamar Hunt Open Cup is named after Lamar Hunt, which is the longest running semi-professional and professional tournament in the United States. And Lamar Hunt was key to legitimizing soccer, if you will, in the days when really nobody cared about it. The team in Dallas, in Frisco, there's a big influence there about the family and what they've done for the sport. And maybe it is time to start recognizing that, and I think this is part of it all. Victor, your take on Lamar Hunt and the Hunt family in general, and their influence in professional sports, of course, but soccer in particular.
Yeah, well, we obviously know their power in the NFL and with the Chiefs, and I think that's a big part of that Kansas City bid that doesn't get talked about as much. I don't think it's a coincidence that they have 4 teams that were stationed there on top of the games that they got as a host city. They also, I would think, have a hand in the Dallas bid, even though I know Jerry Jones gets a lot of the credit up there. But let's remember, they're the owners of FC Dallas. They hosted 2 teams in their, at their MLS stadium, and then obviously they have a new one down in Mansfield, which is a I think at the southern part of Dallas, if I'm not mistaken, that they're going to use now for that MLS Next Pro team. So yeah, they pretty much got their hands on some of this, and rightly so. I mean, that's you need some of these billionaires that um, can support the sport as well. Arthur Blank has done the same thing over in Atlanta. Again, maybe not so much in soccer, but I think Jerry Jones has a lot to do with that Dallas bit also. Tried to get the final, even though I think it was pretty much already decided it was going to be in the New York area. But made a, we heard all the reports about Dallas potentially trying to steal it from New York and having the final at the Cowboy Stadium, at the Dallas Stadium. So yeah, I mean, I think it pretty much the proof there is in the pudding, and that's why they've gotten so many important matchups, important teams staying there. More so than, and every city has their little story, right? But I think those two cities, Kansas City and Dallas, um, certainly have a lot of credit to give there to their local leaders, and they're right there in the center, just like Houston. Um, which we got 7 games, and I think we got some pretty good 7 games. But I do wonder if we had a little bit more pull down here, and um, maybe we did. I don't know how much Fertitta had to do with it in the local bid, the McNairs, but I think I still say we probably could have had a quarterfinal game or something. But I like the love that Houston's getting, regardless out of the
Yeah.
all the tourists that have come and seen the stadium, the people watching from different parts of the country and watching it on TV. So, I think everybody can pretty much consider it a success for certainly for the central region, and we'll see some of the other cities as well.
Enrique, your comment also sparks, I think, what part of what Victor was saying. Who are the leaders here in Houston that are laying down those seeds of getting through even the dark ages? As you know, prior to the Houston Dynamo, there was not a local person or family who said, "Yeah, let's invest in soccer." A la Les Alexander, previous owner of the Houston Rockets. Who was the owner of the Oilers? Bud. Help me out here.
Bud Adams, yeah.
Bud Adams didn't say, "Hey,
Yeah,
let's
Bud
get."
Adams, who
Go ahead.
I was going to say Bud Adams, who I mean, who if not for his help of Lamar Hunt when he started getting into the NFL with the Dallas Texans, you remember they were the franchise that eventually moved to Kansas City, and
right.
Bud Adams had a hand in helping him out and making sure that franchise made it, survived in the early days, as well as the Buffalo Bills. Bud Adams was very generous with his money, his support for those franchises. So in a way, I guess Bud Adams had a hand in making Lamar Hunt successful, or helping him, or help him get started anyway. And of course, he took it the rest of the way.
So let me ask you this, Enrique. There is an entity called Lone Star Sports and Entertainment. By my understanding, it's really an extension of the Houston Texans. But why aren't the McNairs literally snapping up professional soccer for the city? Is it because there's no interest? Is it we don't have a local owner?
Well,
Look,
if I can add to that before,
yeah, please.
I think it has to be. You have to mention, the late Bob McNair, just in getting Reliance Stadium done. Again, whether it was done for soccer, inadvertently, it helped soccer, and it helped us get to this point in the World Cup. We talked about it. I mean, from hosting that first U.S.-Mexico game after the 2002 World Cup. I mean, it just gave us a new venue to basically host soccer matches here in this city, take it to another level. And we've seen all the international matches that have gone through that stadium, club level, et cetera. And I'll add another one. Tying back to Lamar Hunt, the late Jamie Roots, who was the president of I believe, with the Houston Texans for a long time.
A soccer guy.
Obviously, Lone Star Sports Entertainment. Yeah. Who was, if I'm not mistaken, recommended by Lamar Hunt to Bob McNair. And then he came over from, obviously a former college player, I believe, but also head of the Columbus Crew before he came over to the Texans, and obviously had that knowledge of soccer, and probably helped in a lot of these, putting a lot of these matches together. And then I'll fast forward to the current Houston Texans. David Fletcher, also a soccer guy who's in there in a key position. So maybe not directly in the year-round soccer sphere, but I think the Texans are certainly involved in a lot of the big matchups that have come in here. Obviously, just by having the stadium alone, Gold Cup, Copa America, all these events.
International matches. I guess I'm thinking of the word in Spanish. My inquietud, my doubt might be, why are they not all in? And basically,
Well,
a la Hunt, say no. Look, I believe in the sport. And I'm not saying they don't. That the NFL side doesn't believe in the sport. But is it a coincidence now that because of the World Cup they're starting to build something away from the current location? Is this a move away because of that? Is this leverage to try to renovate a quarter of a century-old building? Look, I tend to be a little pessimistic about their love of the sport, because I think, and maybe I'm wrong because I don't have the billions of dollars, that the acquisition 20 years ago of a MLS franchise would have been so logical and natural and honestly not so expensive. Is Fertitta now, after spending time in Italy, going to come back and say, you know what, I want a piece of this? Remember, I remember this vividly from the MLS, Don Garber saying in Houston, eventually we want a local owner. That's never happened. So we just brought up Lamar Hunt, and Lamar Hunt spending money, the Hunt family, before soccer was even popular or profitable. Are we headed in that direction, Enrique? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, and that may be the case eventually. And obviously, there was a big, giant shakeup with the Texans, 6-7 years ago. The team just hit a bad spot in their history, just bad football. Changes, obviously, with Jamie Roots, may he rest in peace, leaving the Texans and moving on, and actually, for a minute, working with the Dynamo. But yeah, through that transition, I think the Texans had just way bigger issues to focus on. Number one, we got to play better football. And now that they are, and actually now with a new team president who has that international background, maybe there will be a more of a push to get in on that side of it. Obviously now with the Dynamo, they already have an ownership, and maybe, I don't know, that there may not be a way in right now, but yeah, I think that when maybe there would have been an opportunity for the Texans franchise to jump all in, they were just too busy taking care of everything in house, and it just wasn't the time to try to expand and focus on getting into an MLS when just the Texans really had a lot of work to do, and now of course they rectified that ship, and maybe this 25th season of that franchise will bring stability to where maybe they do look at the possibility of having more hands on the soccer scene here in the city of Houston. But of course, like Victor said, once we had a stadium and Jamie Roots behind it, he certainly was an important push. And I had a chance to meet Jamie the first trip that we made with the Texans back in 2002. We rode out to the Hall of Fame game, and I sat with him on the bus, and we talked about his soccer background and his love for the sport, and his ambition of bringing soccer to the city. So always a very pleasant person that had that goal in mind, and certainly he's among one of the few who had a push and a hand and what we have now, which is the World Cup in the city of Houston. But before Jamie and the Texans and this building, obviously there was just no possibility.
Yeah, I'm glad that was mentioned today, because he would be very proud of what's going on, even though tomorrow will be the last game of this World Cup. Those seeds and that advocacy for the sport, I think, touched a lot of us, and I think it's set up for the success that the World Cup is having, certainly in Houston. We're going to talk about that and the legacy, of course, throughout our coverage. I did want to try something this evening, gentlemen, and you're going to have to indulge me if I can get it right. Maybe I can't. And as much as we talk about the success of the World Cup, and we talk very positive, there's still a lot of non-believers out there. Among them, loud voices like Jason Whitlock. I'm going to try to see if we can run the audio on part of this, because he doesn't deserve a lot of time, in my opinion. But he does have a voice that's not disappearing. Let's see.
International game of soccer.
Can you guys hear that?
Turn us all into wimps. And everything's about safety now. And Balogun accidentally stepped on the ankle of another player. He's kicked out. He can't play for 2 games. gay.
He just said a word that to me is
Soccer
offensive.
Still sucks.
Soccer still
And I know
sucks.
I'm the bad guy for saying this. I know, oh, you're just saying this for clicks and ratings and traction. You just want to, don't you see, Jason? Everybody loves soccer. Did all that joy? It's all a psyop. It's all fake. It's all, you're programmed. They can program you into liking and loving and supporting anything.
Now watch. This is his argument about soccer.
Well,
Can't
not
do
his
it to
show,
me.
apparently.
Here we go. Not him.
And
Here's his argument.
I'm the old guy. Get off my lawn.
He's trying to make a point. He's getting there.
This has nothing to do with. It has a little to do with being old, but it's not because I'm an old guy. It's just like
Here he goes.
I know what America was built on. A ruggedness, a willingness to take incredible risk, not to roll on the ground and pretend to be some victim so that they throw someone out of the game, or they foul bait in basketball and you get sent to the free throw line. You get this penalty kick, you get that.
It gets better.
Does he not watch
Or
NBA
worse.
basketball?
I truly want to make America great again.
Here he goes.
And in order to make America great again, we still have to hate soccer and recognize it for what it is. The tampon of sports. Soccer is the poison that has poisoned all of American sports fans, and it's all a part of the globalist movement where we're sitting around pretending like a bunch of foreigners that have birthright citizenship still have the accent of the foreign country where they're really from and the foreign culture
coming
that
out.
they really
It's coming
like.
out.
We're now running around and pretending like these guys are John Wayne or George Patton. They're not. They're foreigners that have taken American money and get to play on our team, and we get to pretend like this is some great victory. No, this is soccer and our embrace of it, our full-on embrace of it. It's a sign we've been conquered.
A sign we've been conquered. Victor, I'll let you go first. As much as we love what's happening and we're praising it and we look at the history of it, this guy and his voice are still out there. I almost feel sorry for him because there's no sense in debating him and trying to play into his game. Bless his heart. It's tough. It's tough that life has changed and he's part of the past. He's a dinosaur. Good job. Good job, dude. Enjoy it. But yeah, what you're thinking about and whatever fabricated America you lived in is gone. And by the way, if you talk about the way America was created, there are some things we never want to go back to. I'm not really going to go down that road. But Victor, what is a man like this talking about? Clearly, he wants to get a rise out of people. Clearly, he wants the clicks. But if half of what he said is true, and some people still believe this, they're certainly not ever going to support the sport. Am I wrong? Should we have given this guy the 2.5 minutes?
No, I've been those are 2.5 minutes. I'll never get back. But yeah, well, I mean, first of all, you know where he's trying to go with this, and I think there's less people that think that way. But it's the world's most popular sport. Also, American sports are trying to be more global. So, if you want to
all of them
start with that, yeah, all of them. They want to get a piece of the action worldwide. And if anything, it's not so much that the sport is, trying to conquer the American culture. All the contrary, it's Americans that are trying to conquer the sport of soccer. Go look at how many American owners are owning Premier League teams or teams in the lower divisions in England, in Spain, in Italy. Big money from American owners invested abroad. We have a couple of owners out of Houston, Texas. The Friedkin Group, who's invested in Everton, in Roma. We got Jeff Luno is invested in one of the teams in Spain and obviously in Mexico. Again, Liverpool,
J.J.
Manchester
Watt.
United. J.J. Watt is in a couple of teams as well. Tom Brady's even in a team over in England. So Yeah, if anything, it's Americans trying to be the conquerors instead of being the ones conquered.
Enrique, where do comments like that take us? Still reminding us that the old guard just can't let go, and that people are still spewing this stuff. They're either misinformed, ignorant, or have an agenda of divisiveness. Because I can't even call it that. No reasonable person listens to that and takes it seriously. We were laughing because if we don't laugh, we just dismiss it completely. It's a joke.
No, yeah, absolutely, and then some of his arguments just don't hold water, right? Rolling around faking an injury or faking whatever. I mean, does he not watch the NBA? That's I can't stand to watch the NBA anymore because that's all it turned into just flopping and free throws and jacking up, 45 threes and making 20 of them and calling that a successful season or a game. That just doesn't fly anymore. Hakeem Olajuwon, did he wear the stars and stripes for the national team? He had an accent. Is he not American? So those arguments just don't hold water. He's just being bitter that maybe it's not the sport he grew up with. But this, like you said, we're here and we're finding ourselves in just a whole new world sports wise. And there's nothing wrong with liking soccer. And I don't know. It's just. It's just silly.
It is silly. And Enrique, and there's nothing wrong with liking soccer and liking other sports and being as American as anyone else, period. So again, but I give you that context because not everyone looks at it through the same lens. And look, we're skeptical sometimes. I think all three of us came into this World Cup thinking expanded field, teams that don't belong, expensive tickets, the weather, the travel. I can't find anything wrong other than this Mexico-England change of time so far that played into the politics and maybe playing a little game with it. But quickly, Enrique, again, it's a shame, but there are people out there that are still talking this way.
Well, I mean, at least this guy who's got his own platform, nobody's going to fire him. He can say whatever he wants. Of course, he can
Freedom
have
of
that
speech.
opinion, and then obviously people are going to turn it off or not. But it's just kind of silly because the thing is, minorities in this country have fought so hard for so long. There was a time when Warren Moon wasn't allowed in the NFL because he was the wrong color. He can't play quarterback. That's why he had to end up in Canada. The same thing was said for coaches, for Latinos, and even in Major League Baseball. We have one here in Houston, or a couple that have played here in Houston, who've achieved great things in Major League Baseball. So to dismiss them just because they're from a different country or just don't fit into the cookie cutter type history that we had in the world of sports is just silly, and it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. How the struggles that have been real for so long and now are no longer an issue. Nobody talks anymore about if you're an African American and you can't play quarterback in the NFL. That's basically his argument. They're the wrong color, so they can't do it. They don't fit our norms of sports here in the U.S., so they can't work here. That's just it's just silly.
It is silly, but it's still out there. Let's move on, gentlemen. Upcoming matches, and before we talk about the matches for tomorrow, Enrique Vasquez, help me out here. So is the kickoff noon? Is the kickoff at 6? Are they postponing the match so that Mexico can get more rest? What's going on here?
Okay, well, obviously today when we heard that the match was going to be moved to noon, and our initial thought was, hey, this is going to favor Mexico, right? Playing at noon at Azteca, elevation, the heat, the smog. It turns out the temperature is going to be pretty reasonable most of the day. It's supposed to rain most of the day, high of 77 in Mexico City. So that wasn't necessarily going to change anything. So what it turns out is that unfortunately, and I don't know that we have talked about it after the Mexico-Ecuador game, as most soccer fans in Mexico tend to go celebrate at the Ángel of the Independencia. Unfortunately, there were 4 deaths in that celebration. 3 happened there. 1 happened at the hospital afterwards. He suffered a medical emergency, and then he just passed away at the hospital. But because of that, I understand that this was reported by John Sutcliffe from ESPN Mexico, give him credit for it, that the Mexican government reached out to FIFA to say, hey, listen, we can't have this happening again. Is there any way that we can change the time so that the fans that do get out there, it'll be earlier in the day, maybe we can have better control, crowd control, and then knowing that if Mexico wins, that there will play the winner of the Brazil game, which will happen at that would have happened that evening. Maybe that simmers down the crowd. They can go back home and watch the game, or just sit back and relax. And maybe we can control this better, and we can't have people dying out in celebrations. So apparently, John Sutcliffe reported that when he heard the news, he reached out to somebody at Azteca Stadium, and they told him, yes, the game is going to be changed. They asked us to change schedule. That's going to happen. But then word got out on social media, and then FIFA just decided, hey, you know what? This doesn't look good. We didn't make this public that the game was going to change. They leaked the information. So because of that, it's just a bad look that it didn't come from us. So we're just going to revert back to the normal time, 6:00, and that's what's going to happen. So that all happened, from this morning at 9 a.m. when the news started going out that the game was going to change, and apparently it was changed according to John Sutcliffe. That's how he reported it. The FIFA told Azteca Stadium, look out, and also the broadcasters, hey, this is coming. But then they just reverted back to the 6:00 because just the dynamics of how the news came out just wasn't controlled by FIFA. So then they just said, hey, we can't have this bad look, so let's just go back to the 6:00 kick.
Victor, should countries influence the schedule? If the United States, obviously, I see a weather emergency. If a hurricane were headed to Houston and we have a match tomorrow, yes, you postpone it, you move it, you change things, right? Nobody wants to see live people losing their lives over celebrations, and I understand that's a reasonable and important reason to at least bring it up. But did the media play this wrong? My point is the media were reporting it as if it were gospel. From my understanding, and we had this conversation before we went on air, it was never officially changed. So is there more to the story, you think, Victor, other than FIFA not being happy that it got leaked? And I'm not doubting Don Enrique Vasquez and his sources and what he's heard, but was this a fabricated story in order to bring even more attention potentially to the England-Mexico match, and potentially to influence England in a negative way, potentially? If you see this at first hand, you say this benefits Mexico, as Enrique said, but it's prime time also for viewers in England. These are all part of the calculations that FIFA has to go through: political, social, cultural, also scheduling with the big networks.
Yeah, well, and in that regard, and that's why I thought the change was gonna or was in the works, was because it would actually work out better for England TV wise, in a better prime time spot. More people will be able to watch it, and Vasco Aguirre, the coach of Mexico, I think was asked about it, and he kind of, whether he was playing the part or not, was basically saying he wasn't on board with it. He wasn't asked. Obviously that, preparation and everything, everything you already had planned, recovery going up to a game, all that stuff gets, thrown out of whack a little bit. Yeah, I think it would have gone against England as far as, a noon game with the heat. But who knows? Maybe, they just got in tonight. Maybe they might have thought, it might help them. I don't know. I think there was certainly reported there was talks, and then ultimately I think, it probably got out of hand because it just kind of spread like wildfire with everyone, where people were just kind of expecting, well, confirm it already.
Yeah.
And then it was easier just to keep things as they were.
Easier to keep things as they were. This also would have affected the other match for tomorrow. Well, this is for tomorrow, I should say. The other match, the Brazil match on Sunday. Yes, sir.
But before we get to that, though, if by the evening, the temperature is supposed to go down to 50s, mid 50s, and it's supposed to rain. So now, does this favor the English side? They're used to playing in the cool weather in a wet field, where the touch is different. Does this now favor or help a little bit England in this match? Obviously the crowd is going to be there. The same energy that now they're going to have all day long to build up, the energy in that building. But now the conditions of the pitch and the field is basically going to feel like you're at Wembley.
It's going to feel different than that would have felt playing at noon for sure in that day.
Except for them being the away side. and obviously,
Right.
again, all the build up to the match from now, their arrival, it's been reported that where their hotel was. That got spread around. Then it was reported, I think, by the British press that they had reserved like 15 different hotels, and you know, not that that was going to deter anybody in Mexico.
Intentionally,
They would
yeah.
just party outside all 15 hotels, anyways, in chance of But yeah, I mean, I think it tells you what kind of a big game this is when all these other side stories are coming out, from that aspect, from the on the field stuff. I still think it's kind of like today with Argentina, where their past two games was inside a climate controlled, up in Dallas, and then today they go out in the heat of Miami, and I think it's the same for England. They were climate controlled in Atlanta. Now they come here, and it's still going to be a little bit different. Again, the people around them, yeah, it gives it that big game feel, and all this chaos that comes across with our sport, and two of the most soccer crazy nations, I would say. Yeah, I think this just adds to all the pressure that both of these teams have to be feeling, going up to this one.
It's going to be a good one. That'll be
Now,
Sunday. Go ahead,
and,
Enrique.
and if we have to put a meter on this, who has the most pressure? This is the biggest game in Mexican soccer history. England's been in bigger matches before, not so much this group of guys. Well, I guess a Euro, that would be one thing, but in this stage, in this type of tournament, World Cup, it's been a while since England has won a match of this magnitude, and obviously the opponent. As you look at the round of 32 matches, has Mexico had the most convincing win, along with France, as far as how they're playing and how they took care of business in the round of 32? That obviously is going to open up the eyes of, or has already opened up the eyes of the England national team. But who has the most pressure, Victor? To me, it has to be Mexico, right? They have a lot more to gain, but being that they're at home, if this gets away from them early, how are they going to handle that? Because they haven't had adversary all tournament. We talked about this a couple of days ago.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it depends on how you define that pressure. Like you said, if it's about who has more to gain, I think certainly Mexico has more riding on this. If you talk about expectations, I think the pressure's on England, because they're probably seen as, on paper, the better roster, and obviously with a star player like Harry Kane, and as far as the aspirations of actually winning the World Cup. As much as we want Mexico to make it there to the final and have a chance, I think England's more considered one of the contenders. So I think the pressure from that aspect is on England. And again, with the people behind Mexico and having a play at Azteca, which is, and obviously the history that the English national team has there. I think it's pressure on England, but I think certainly it'll be a buzzkill for Mexico if they don't win this one. And they have a lot riding on it that they could, this could really be that big, moment for the sport where it just seals what this has been building up to, right? As opposed to just kind of being, for lack of a better term, a fluke run, right?
I don't believe it is. Did Victor freeze? He just kind of stopped there, Victor. Were you done?
No. I mean,
Okay,
I just,
No, he's good.
I
He's
don't know
good.
what
He's
else.
good.
I mean, I think
You scared me.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that losing this would invalidate what Mexico has done, but I think it certainly, it doesn't put an
Put a damper
exclamation
on it.
point on it.
Yeah.
Right, because it's more of a, well, that was, it was a nice start. It was a nice game against Ecuador, but then what did it amount to, right? Where and everything that has been wrong in Mexican soccer is going to get a magnifying glass over it. The lack of pro rel, the state of the domestic league, how many players do you have in Europe, and all these things are going to get heightened as to why you couldn't beat a team like England on your home turf, right? As opposed to, what went right, and was it just not Mexico's day, whatever. So I think Mexico has more riding on it as far as what they can gain, but I think in the eyes of the world, England is probably the better team, and even if Mexico wins, they'll probably see it as, man, that stadium, that's a huge advantage. I don't know how much stock they would really put into Mexico still, but we'll see.
Gentlemen,
and I think the mindset for them. I think real quick, sorry, Alex.
Please,
I think
yeah.
the mindset from Mexico's side has been we didn't get this far to just get this far now, right? Now it's about if we can get this win. Now there's no reason why we can't take on a Brazil if they indeed advance out of their match, and well, why not? What's ECC? ECC is what the slogan that you hear now coming out of Mexico. Why not? You know, it can happen if they take care of business on Sunday. Certainly, I mean, it looks promising.
Sí se puede. Quickly, gentlemen, because they're telling us we've got to wrap up. Tomorrow, Enrique, I'll start with you. Canada, Morocco in Houston, the last match in Houston Stadium, and then the second game, only two tomorrow. Round of 16, both of these matches, Paraguay versus France. What do you see in those matches?
I see Morocco and France walking away from Paraguay. I think just offensively, whether it's Mbappe or whoever it is that they have on their lines, you know, France just has just way too much talent. Those two teams advance.
What do you see tomorrow, Victor, in Houston? Does Canada have a Jesse Marsh, another Jesse Marsh miracle? I think Morocco comes in as favorites. You can't dismiss Canada and the run they're in. Is the pressure more on Morocco to a certain extent than it is for Canada? Is Canada playing with house money?
Yes. Canada, I think, is playing with house money just because they've had ups and downs in this campaign, and obviously. Not much was expected of them because they didn't really have a lot of World Cup history. They actually had lost all their World Cup games in both of their previous campaigns, and obviously in 2022 they broke a long drought, but they had a tough spell there in Qatar. So here, and obviously the home turf helped them out. They're able to get some, you know, their first ever win. They're able to be in the knockout stage for the first time. Maybe it didn't feel as a big success just because of the way. You know, the group lead sort of got away from them, and we talked about, you know, they could be potentially have played in Vancouver last night and be in Vancouver for the next round. But I think it's house money at this point. You know, if their campaign ends tomorrow, or I guess today now, it's still a success. It's going to be the most successful Canada campaign at a World Cup, and who knows if they'll ever, you know, top it, depending on where the program goes from here. And I think they've got some financial struggles, so we'll see. Some of the MLS owners, I think, had to get together and put up the money for Jesse Marsh, and he's done I think a pretty good job, and he seems motivated for whatever, you know, whether it's being slided for the US job or whether it's just getting a chance at a national team level. I don't think they have anything to lose. I think they have some guys that can win them games. Obviously, I talked about this yesterday. They need Alphonso Davies on the field, and they've had pressure where Bayern Munich didn't really want him to participate just because he had an injury that could have potentially gotten worse with a lot of minutes here in this World Cup. But I think they can cause problems for Morocco, and again, they have nothing to lose. They can take this game tomorrow, and that would really add a exclamation point to what this campaign has been, take it to another level, and then they would even play with even more house money at that point. Morocco's got some problems, I think, off the field, and certainly they've had some drama with the way they won that African Cup of Nations. That's not to take away from everything they've done so far. But yeah, I absolutely think the pressure might be on Morocco, and we'll see what kind of, if it's a pro-Canada crowd, if it's a neutral crowd tomorrow. And obviously this is the first one of the round of 16. And then just real quickly on France, Paraguay, I think that one was also maybe in a potential reschedule, just the weather
in
up there
Philadelphia, right?
for tomorrow. But ultimately that one stays put also, and we'll see if that has anything to do with that matchup, and if that gets delayed or anything, and that could maybe help out of Paraguay. But I think everybody expects France out of that one.
We're into the weekend officially.
Why can't all these cities just put a roof on these stadiums? I mean, like we do here in Houston. Come on, guys.
It's logical. I guess, Enrique, it's more affordable now, right? I mean, the history is there, the experience is there.
$1 billion. $1 billion here, $1 billion there. What's the difference?
It's not. It's cheap. It's an expense.
Like Buffalo just put up a new stadium and they decided not to put a roof on it.
Buffalo?
That's right. They didn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
Buffalo
Yeah,
Bills.
they're about to open their new NFL stadium, but they decided not to put a roof on it.
Could you
So
see
Yes.
Enrique Lambeau Field without with the
Without
roof?
snow, no, no, yes, yeah. Some things have to remain, and obviously that. I mean, they were smart in Minnesota; they put a roof on it.
Yeah,
They wouldn't do that in
finally.
Chicago, so they moved in. They're moving to Indiana, of course. So yeah, but yeah, we have a roof, rain or shine, heat or not. You can play soccer year around here. Let's
And
bring back the World Cup and play all games here.
that's what I say. Just the host city should be Houston. Gentlemen, we've got to go because it is already Saturday morning, a weekend full of matches, round of 16 already. I can't believe we're there. And there'll be, of course, more drama, more intrigue, and I think more excitement for all of us. So we continue being excited. We can't thank all of you enough for following us. Thanks to our production team. Also, thanks to Victor. Thanks to Don Enrique Vasquez. I'm Alex Parra. We really appreciate all you that follow us. Please find us on social media. Send us your comments, your questions. This is your home when it comes to soccer coverage, and maybe more than that, by the way. We may have some surprises in the future. Enrique, quickly, last word.
Last word, Alex Parra. Did you ever think when you were a young squire crossing the Delaware with George Washington that one day on a 4th of July we were going to have World Cup soccer here in the United States?
I did not. Those are the dark ages. That's right. Enrique, by the way, happy 4th of July officially. It is the 4th for us already.
Yeah.
So 250th, right?
Yeah, I mean, and you were there in the beginning.
I
Alex
was there
Parra.
from day number one, Enrique Vasquez. Victor, a last word before we go, sir.
yeah, ready for the round 16. Obviously, it starts in Houston, and I think there'll be some 4th of July theme to these games. So yeah, let's go. Let's go rest. Let's go watch them.
Let's go watch them. Some fireworks. Enjoy your 4th of July. Please, friends, be safe. Take care of yourselves. Let's hope that everyone is safe throughout the many countries that may be watching and celebrating, or maybe the opposite. When a country loses, they still go out and drown their sorrows, and that can also be a dangerous moment. But thank you to all of you. First of all, being part of the show, guys, we really appreciate it. And thanks to all of you that follow us. So on behalf of all of us, have a great evening or a great morning now. Take care of yourselves. Until next time. Good day.
Putting down African Americans that celebrate that way